It's 2 a.m. Your phone lights up. A name you haven't seen in years. Hey, I've been thinking about you. Your heart stops. Your mind races. 1,000 questions flood in at once. Why now? Why after all this time? What does she want? But here's what you should really be asking. What changed in her psychology that made her reach out after years of silence? Because it wasn't random. It wasn't fate. It wasn't some romantic movie moment where she suddenly realized you were the one. It was psychology. Cold, calculated, predictable. And once you understand the mechanism behind why exes return, you'll never be caught off guard again. Most men think it's about love, about regret, about her finally seeing your value. But the 1% of men who understand human psychology, they know the dark truth. Today, we're dissecting one of the most emotionally charged phenomena in human relationships, the return of the ex. Not the ex who comes back after a few weeks, not the one who never really left, but the one who disappeared for years, who moved on, who built a whole new life, and then suddenly, she's back. This isn't a video about getting your ex back. This isn't about rekindling old flames or second chances. This is about understanding the raw, unfiltered psychology that drives a woman to reach out to a man from her past after years of silence. And what you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you view your past relationships, your present connections, and the women who suddenly remember you exist. Because here's the truth most men never grasp. When an ex returns after years, it's rarely about you. It's about her psychology, her needs, her current circumstances. You're not the protagonist in this story. You're a character she's reintroducing to serve a specific purpose in her narrative. So let's expose the psychology. Let's understand the mechanisms. Let's see what's really happening when that message comes through at 2 a.m. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do when it happens to you. The timing is never random. First, let's address the elephant in the room. The timing. She could have reached out 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, but she didn't. She reached out now. And that timing, it's a psychological tell. Think about it. What happens in a person's life that makes them suddenly think about someone they haven't spoken to in years? Life transitions. Studies in relationship psychology show that people are most likely to reach out to ex-partners during major life transitions. Not during stable periods, not when everything's going well, but during transitions. What kind of transitions? 1. The end of a relationship. She just broke up with someone. The relationship that replaced you just ended. And in that emotional void, her mind starts to wander backwards. 2. Career changes or failures. She just lost her job, or got a promotion that feels empty, or realized her career isn't fulfilling her the way she thought it would. 3. Geographic relocation. She just moved to a new city, or moved back to her hometown, or is planning a trip that will bring her near where you are. 4. Milestone birthdays. She just turned 30, or 35, or 40, and with that milestone comes reflection, nostalgia, and sometimes panic about where her life is heading. 5. Life disappointments. The life she envisioned isn't matching reality. She thought she'd be married by now, have kids by now, be happier by now, and she's not. Notice the pattern? None of these triggers is about you. They're about her life circumstances, creating an emotional need. And in that moment of need, her brain searches through its archives for solutions. And there you are, filed away in her memory, attached to feelings she hasn't felt in years. Psychologists call this nostalgic idealization. When the present reality is disappointing, the brain reconstructs the past as better than it actually was. She's not remembering the real you. She's not remembering the real relationship. She's remembering an idealized version, a fantasy, a feeling, and that fantasy is exactly what she needs right now. So she reaches out. Now let's go deeper. The psychology of regret. Why you specifically? Because regret is selective. Research in cognitive psychology shows that people don't regret all their past decisions equally. We tend to regret paths not taken, the what-if relationships, the ones that ended before they fully played out, high points that declined, the relationships that started out amazing but deteriorated over time, decisions made under pressure, the breakups that happened because of external circumstances, not genuine incompatibility. If your relationship fits any of these categories, you're a prime candidate for late-night "I've been thinking about you" messages. Here's why. The human brain is terrible at remembering pain accurately. This is called fading affect bias. Negative emotions fade faster than positive ones in memory. So, over time, the painful parts of your relationship, the arguments, the incompatibilities, the real reasons it ended, fade into the background. What remains? The good parts, the highlights, the peak moments. She remembers the vacation you took together, the way you made her laugh, the sex, the connection she felt. But she doesn't viscerally remember the daily friction, the fundamental differences, the reasons she left. And here's where it gets psychologically fascinating. The longer she's been gone, the more idealized you become. 1 year out, she still remembers the bad stuff clearly. 3 years out, it's getting fuzzy. 5 years out, you're basically a romantic memory, a highlight reel, a what could have been. This is why exes often come back years later with statements like, "You were the best I ever had. I made a mistake letting you go. I've never connected with anyone the way I connected with you." These aren't necessarily lies. In her reconstructed memory, they might be true, but they're not based on reality. They're based on nostalgia, and nostalgia is a drug. Here's another psychological mechanism at play, the Zeigarnik effect. This is a psychological principle that states humans remember incomplete or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. If your relationship ended abruptly, if there was no closure, if things were left unsaid, your relationship lives in her mind as unfinished business. And unfinished business creates psychological tension, a loop that never closed, a story without an ending. For years, this might sit dormant in her subconscious, but then something triggers it. A song, a place, a smell, a random memory, and suddenly the unfinished loop demands completion. She needs to know, what happened to you? How did you turn out? Would we still have chemistry? This isn't about love, it's about closure, about completing the loop. Social media makes this even more potent. She can see snapshots of your life, your photos, your success, your apparent happiness, and each glimpse feeds the curiosity. He looks different now. He seems more confident. I wonder if he ever thinks about me. Studies show that people are more curious about ex-partners who appear to be thriving. The better you seem to be doing, the more she wonders what she missed out on. This is called fear of missing out, or FOMO, and it's a powerful psychological motivator. If you're clearly miserable, she doesn't need to wonder. She knows she made the right choice. But if you're clearly thriving, that creates doubt. That creates curiosity. That creates the urge to reach out. Not because she wants you back necessarily, but because she needs to resolve the psychological tension of what if. Let's talk about something darker, ego. When an ex reaches out years later, sometimes it has nothing to do with rekindling anything. It's purely about validation. Here's how this works psychologically. Self-worth is often tied to our perceived desirability. We measure our value by how much others value us. And exes represent a unique form of validation. Someone who once chose us, who knows us intimately, who has history with us. When a woman is feeling insecure, maybe her current relationship is rocky, maybe she's single and feeling undesirable, maybe she's aging and questioning her attractiveness, her brain seeks validation. And you're an easy source because she already knows you were attracted to her once. She already knows she had power over you once. So reaching out becomes a test. Does he still care? Does he still find me attractive? Do I still have power over him? If you respond warmly, if you show interest, if you ask about her life, if you seem open to reconnecting, she gets what she came for. Validation, proof that she's still desirable, still attractive, still capable of affecting someone. Research in social psychology shows this behavior is especially common when someone's current relationship is lacking in validation. She's not getting what she needs from her present, so she mines her past. And here's the cruel part. Once she gets that validation, the need often disappears. She got the ego boost, the confirmation, the proof of her continued desirability. And then she ghosts. Again, this is why so many men experience the pattern of message at 2 a.m., brief conversation, plans to meet up, sudden disappearance. She never intended to actually reconnect. She just needed to know she still could. Now let's examine another psychological driver, comparison. Specifically comparing you to whoever came after you. This is rooted in a psychological phenomenon called temporal comparison theory. People constantly evaluate their past choices by comparing past options to current ones. When she's in a new relationship that's disappointing, her brain automatically runs comparisons. My current boyfriend doesn't make me laugh like he did. Sex with my ex was more passionate. I felt more seen, more understood with him. These comparisons aren't necessarily accurate. They're filtered through nostalgia and selective memory, but they feel real. And the more disappointed she is with her present, the more idealized you become in her mind. Psychologists call this the contrast effect. The worse her current situation, the better you look in comparison, even if you objectively weren't that great. This is especially common when she settled. She left you for someone who looked better on paper, more successful, more stable, more conventionally attractive, but the emotional connection isn't there. The novelty wore off. The new relationship was exciting at first, but now it's revealed itself to be mediocre. And she's remembering what she gave up. She's experiencing neglect. Her current partner doesn't prioritize her, doesn't pursue her, doesn't make her feel special, and she remembers when you did. The irony? These are often the same things that made her leave you in the first place. Maybe you were too available. Maybe you prioritized her too much. Maybe you made her feel too special, and she got bored. But now that she's experiencing the opposite, suddenly those flaws look like virtues. This is the grass is greener syndrome in full effect, and it's a psychological trap that keeps people perpetually dissatisfied. Because here's what would happen if you got back together. She'd remember why she left. The novelty would wear off again. The comparison game would reverse. And you'd be the one coming up short compared to the new guy. Let's address something more vulnerable. Loneliness. Not the I'm single kind of loneliness. The existential kind. The kind that hits at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep, when the distractions fade, when you're alone with your thoughts. Studies show that people experience waves of intense loneliness during certain life phases. Late 20s to early 30s, when friends start getting married and having kids, when social circles shrink, when Friday nights become quieter. After a major breakup, even if the relationship was bad, even if she initiated it, the sudden absence creates a void. During times of failure or disappointment, when careers plateau, when goals aren't met, when life feels directionless, during holidays or anniversaries, times that are supposed to be happy but instead highlight what's missing. In these moments of deep loneliness, the brain doesn't reach for logic. It reaches for comfort, and you represent comfort, not because of who you are now, but because of what you represented then. Security, connection, being known, being chosen. She's not necessarily thinking, I want him back. She's thinking, I don't want to feel this alone, and reaching out to you, someone who once made her feel less alone, becomes a psychological band-aid. This explains why these late-night messages often have a specific emotional tenor. Vulnerable, reflective, nostalgic, seeking connection. She's not coming back because she suddenly realized you're her soulmate. She's reaching out because loneliness is a powerful, painful emotion, and you're associated with its absence. The problem? This kind of reconnection is built on emotional need, not genuine desire. And the moment her loneliness is resolved, through a new relationship, a rekindled friendship, a shift in life circumstances, you become unnecessary again. Now we need to talk about something that becomes increasingly relevant as women age: biology. Specifically, the biological clock and the psychological pressure it creates. This isn't sexist, it's science. Women have a finite window for biological childbearing, and as that window begins to close, psychological patterns shift dramatically. Research shows that women in their early to mid-30s often experience what psychologists call mate-switching regret. If she spent her 20s prioritizing career, adventure, or dating men who were exciting but unreliable, she might suddenly realize she needs something different. And who fits that profile? Often the stable guy she left behind, the boring boyfriend, the one who wanted commitment when she wanted freedom. You. Suddenly the traits that made her leave, your stability, your commitment, your desire for a serious relationship, are exactly what she needs now. This isn't manipulation in the traditional sense. It's a genuine shift in priorities driven by biological and social pressures. But here's the brutal truth. She's not coming back because she loves you more now. She's coming back because her needs have changed. 10 years ago, she needed excitement, adventure, options. Now she needs stability, commitment, someone who will be a good father. And unfortunately, you happen to check those boxes. This is why many men who reconcile with exes years later report a nagging feeling that they're a practical choice rather than a passionate one. Because they are. She's choosing you for different reasons than she would have 10 years ago. Not better. Not reasons. Not worse reasons. Just different reasons. And if you accept that reconciliation, you need to be honest with yourself. Are you okay being the practical choice? Here's a darker psychological mechanism: power and control. Some exes come back not out of loneliness or regret, but because they missed the control they had over you. This is especially true if, 1, she was the one who ended it. Ending a relationship is an act of power, and years later successfully re-entering your life is another act of power. She's testing whether she still has it. 2, you were deeply invested. If you were clearly more attached, if you struggled with the breakup, if you reached out multiple times after, she remembers that power dynamic. 3, she sees you thriving. If you've clearly moved on and improved your life, there's a psychological need to reassert influence, to prove she can still affect you. Research in power dynamics shows that people derive satisfaction from knowing they're significant in someone's life. Even if that significance is historical, being forgotten is psychologically threatening. It means we didn't matter as much as we thought. So reaching out becomes a way to confirm, do I still matter to him? Am I still significant in his story? And your response, whether you engage warmly, coldly, or not at all, gives her that answer. If you engage warmly, she confirms her continued significance and power. If you engage coldly, she still confirms her significance. You're clearly still affected. If you don't engage at all, that's the only response that denies her the validation she's seeking. This is why the advice "don't respond" is so psychologically powerful. It's the only move that refuses to play the game. Let's examine what might be the most common reason exes return. The realization that the grass wasn't greener. She left. She explored. She dated other people. She built new relationships, and none of them measured up to what she remembered. This isn't necessarily because you were objectively better. It's because of how human psychology processes relationships. Peak end rule. People judge experiences based on their peak moments and their endings. If your relationship had high peaks and ended on a relatively positive note, or at least not catastrophically, it's remembered favorably. Hedonic adaptation. No matter how exciting a new relationship starts, we eventually adapt to it, and it becomes our new normal. The excitement fades, the specialness fades, and we start comparing it to past peaks. Commitment aversion patterns. Some people have psychological patterns where they consistently leave relationships once they get too close or too comfortable, then later regret it. So she dated the bad boy who was exciting but unreliable, the successful guy who was emotionally unavailable, the adventurous guy who wouldn't commit, and none of them gave her what you did. Maybe it was emotional safety, maybe it was genuine compatibility, maybe it was being truly seen and understood. Whatever it was, she's comparing her string of disappointing relationships to the one relationship that, in memory, wasn't disappointing. And so she comes back. But here's the question you need to ask. Did she come back because she genuinely values what you offered, or because she exhausted her other options? There's a psychological difference between, I now understand and appreciate what we had, and everything else didn't work out, so I'm coming back to what's familiar. The first is growth. The second is settling, and most of the time it's the second one. We need to address the elephant in the room. Social media has fundamentally changed the psychology of exes returning. 20 years ago, when a relationship ended, people actually moved on. They didn't see updates about their ex's life. They didn't know who they were dating, where they traveled, or how successful they'd become. Out of sight genuinely became out of mind. But now, your ex can watch your life unfold in real time without ever speaking to you. And this creates a psychological phenomenon called ambient awareness. She's not actively thinking about you, but she's passively aware of you. Your posts, your stories, your life updates, and each post is a potential trigger. You post a photo looking confident, she notices. You post about a promotion, she notices. You post with an attractive woman, she definitely notices. Research shows that social media creates low-level continuous exposure that keeps past relationships psychologically alive in ways they never would have been before. And here's where it gets manipulative. She can gather intelligence about you without revealing her interest. She can watch you, study you, wait for the perfect moment to reach out. And when she does finally message you, it's not spontaneous. She's been preparing. She knows exactly what's happening in your life. She's chosen her timing strategically. This is why the message often references something specific. I saw you traveled to Japan. How was it? Congrats on the new job. You look really happy lately. She's revealing that she's been watching, that you've been on her mind, that she's been waiting for the right moment. And that moment usually coincides with you displaying high value, success, happiness, or new relationships. Because that's when the FOMO is strongest. That's when the what if becomes unbearable. The solution? Make your social media private, or at least be strategic about what you share and who can see it. Because every post is a potential invitation for your past to resurface. Now that we understand why exes come back, let's talk about how to identify the red flags in their approach. Because the way she reaches out tells you everything about her true intentions. Red flag. Just 1. Vague, late-night messages. Hey, I've been thinking about you. You've been on my mind lately. I miss you. These messages are emotionally manipulative breadcrumbs. They're designed to get you emotionally invested without her having to reveal her true intentions. If her interest was genuine and healthy, she'd be direct. She'd explain why she's reaching out. She'd take responsibility. Vague messages are fishing expeditions. She's testing the waters to see if you're still interested before she invests any real effort. Red flag number 2. Avoiding accountability. If she reaches out but never acknowledges the past, never takes responsibility for how things ended, never apologizes or even addresses the breakup, that's a massive red flag. It means she wants the benefits of reconnection without the discomfort of accountability. And that dynamic, where she gets to rejoin your life on her terms without addressing her past behavior, sets a terrible precedent. Red flag number 3, inconsistent communication. She messages enthusiastically. You respond. She disappears for days or weeks, then resurfaces like nothing happened. This hot and cold pattern reveals she's not actually committed to reconnecting. She's just seeking intermittent validation. Real interest is consistent. If she genuinely wants you back in her life, she'll show up consistently. Red flag number 4, only reaching out. During her low points, pay attention to when she contacts you. Is it always when she's sad, lonely, going through something difficult? If she only remembers you exist when she needs emotional support, you're not a person to her. You're a resource, and the moment she feels better, you'll be forgotten again. Red flag number 5, resistance to meeting in person. If weeks or months of messaging don't lead to an actual in-person meeting, something's off. Either she's in a relationship and just seeking emotional affair energy, or she's not actually interested in real reconnection, just the fantasy of it. Real intentions lead to real action. If she's serious, she'll want to see you face to face. So, how do the 1% of men handle this situation? They operate from a position of psychological clarity, not emotional reactivity. They don't respond immediately. Even if they want to reconnect, they don't respond at 2 a.m. with enthusiasm. They take time, they process, they think strategically, they ask direct questions. Why are you reaching out now? What changed? What are you hoping will come from this conversation? They cut through the ambiguity immediately. They observe patterns, not words. They don't listen to what she says. They watch what she does. Is her behavior consistent? Is she making a real effort? Or just breadcrumbing? They maintain their boundaries. They don't rearrange their life to accommodate her return. They don't cancel plans. They don't become immediately available. They maintain the life they built without her. They remember why it ended. They don't get lost in nostalgia. They consciously recall the real problems, the fundamental incompatibilities, the genuine reasons it didn't work. They trust their gut. If something feels off, if her timing feels manipulative, if her intentions feel unclear, if the whole thing feels like a game, they trust that instinct. They're willing to walk away again. They understand that just because she came back doesn't mean they have to let her stay. They maintain the power to say no. This isn't about being cold or unforgiving. It's about being self-protective and psychologically aware. Because here's the truth. Most exes who return leave again. The statistics aren't on your side. The psychology isn't on your side. The patterns aren't on your side. And the 1% understand that protecting their peace is more important than satisfying their curiosity or indulging their nostalgia. Let me be brutally honest with you. Most second-chance relationships fail. Research shows that relationships that end and then restart have a much higher failure rate than relationships that never broke up in the first place. Why? Because the problems that caused the first breakup rarely get resolved. They get temporarily forgotten in the excitement of reconnection. But they're still there, waiting. And this time, there's an additional layer of complexity. Broken trust, abandonment wounds, the knowledge that she left once and could leave again. That psychological weight is real, and it changes the dynamic of the relationship permanently. You'll always wonder, is she really here because she wants to be? Or because her other options didn't work out? She'll always know, I had him once, I left, and I was able to come back. Which means she has all the power. This imbalance is toxic, and it's hard to overcome. Now, are there exceptions? Of course. Sometimes people genuinely grow. Sometimes circumstances change in meaningful ways. Sometimes the timing really was wrong the first time. But those cases are the minority, not the majority. And the burden is on her to prove that this time is different, that she's different, that the circumstances are different, not through words, through sustained, consistent action over time. If she's not willing to put in that work, if she expects you to just accept her back based on nostalgia and chemistry, run. My brother, run, because she's not taking this seriously. She's not taking you seriously. She's not taking the psychological damage of a failed second chance seriously. Here's what you need to remember when that message comes through. You're not the same person she left years ago. You've grown. You've changed. You've built a life without her, and she's not the same person either. The relationship she remembers doesn't exist anymore because the two people in it don't exist anymore. What she's reaching for is a memory, a feeling, a version of you that's long gone. And if you engage with that fantasy, you'll both be disappointed when reality sets in. So when she messages you at 2 a.m. with, I've been thinking about you, don't immediately think She finally realized what she lost. Think, what need am I fulfilling for her right now? Because that's the real question. And the answer will tell you everything you need to know. Most men get caught up in the flattery of being remembered, being pursued, being given a second chance. But the 1%, they understand the psychology. They see the timing, the triggers, the underlying needs, and they make decisions based on reality, not nostalgia. She didn't suddenly wake up one day and realize you were perfect for her. She woke up in a life that wasn't working, and her brain reached backwards for solutions. You're not her destiny. You're her contingency plan. And once you see that clearly, the decision becomes simple. You can engage if you want, but do it with eyes open, with boundaries intact, with zero illusions about what's really happening. Or you can do what the 1% do. Recognize the game, understand the psychology, and choose to leave the past where it belongs, in the past. Because here's the final truth. If she was right for your future, she'd still be in your present. Her absence answered the question. Don't let her return to rewrite the answer. Stay sharp. This is Noir Wisdom.